Hey, everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
You're listening to the Sportsman's Nation Podcast Network, brought to you by Lacrosse Boots. Now, if you guys haven't had the opportunity to check out the Navigator series, it's a brand new lineup from Lacrosse. They have the Windrose for men and women. They also have the Atlas, and that's what I wore during my rut vacation this fall. Check them out. They're very comfortable. It's a traditional rubber boot, kind of mixed with a traditional hunting, hiking boot. They've mashed it together, and the outcome is the Navigator series. Check it out at lacrossefootwear.com.
My name is Clay Newcomb, and I'm the host of the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. I'll also be your host into the world of hunting the icon of North American wilderness, the bear. We'll talk about tactics, gear, conservation, but we'll also bring you into some of the wildest country on the planet, chasing bear. On this podcast, you're going to hear us have a great conversation with Strait Sedillo. Yep, that's his name, Strait Sedillo. Strait is a dry ground mountain lion hunter and bear hound hunter out in New Mexico. We have a great conversation with him, me, and my good buddy, Brent Reaves. But before we get into the podcast, I want to draw your attention to our buddies over at W Hunting Supply. Brent, do you know where they're at? Do you know where they're based out of?
I know they're right here in the good old U.S. of A.
Yes, they're based out of Washington, Yakima, Washington. And I tell you what, I mean, these guys are real deal hound hunters, and they know all the products that they sell. If I've had trouble setting up one of my Garmin products one time, I called them. The person that answered the phone walked me through without even looking at a computer for how to sync the collar. It was easy stuff, but I just didn't know how to do it. So they're the real deal. They're fighting for houndsmen. Their mission in their business is more than just selling products to houndsmen. But
they're supporting us. We need to support them.
That's right. And good guys. So check out W Hunting Supply. They've got an awesome line of, they carry all the Garmin stuff, all the anything you could ever dream of. But they also have a really cool custom line of apparel.
Yeah.
Okay. The second thing I want to talk about is our friends at Houndsman XP, okay? So Chris Powell and Steve Fielder, good friends of ours. If you're listening to this and you're a houndsman and you haven't heard of Houndsman XP, go over and check them out. They're producing high-quality content about all things hound, from coon hunting to big game hunting to competition hunting to rabbit hunting to squirrel hunting. These guys are doing everything. So check out our buddies at Houndsman XP.
For sure. Good guys.
Number three, Brent, Western Bear Foundation.
Another group of good folks doing some really good work.
Yep. Check out our buddies over at the Western Bear Foundation. They are a nonprofit hunting conservation organization that is a voice for sportsmen out in a very hostile part of the world and heated debate in the West about grizzly bears and black bears, and these guys are fighting the good fight for the sportsman. And so check out our buddies over at the Western Bear Foundation. Hey, let's talk to old Strait now. We are gathered around the fire in the land of enchantment in New Mexico. The wood is burning hot. Strait, is this juniper wood?
Yes, sir.
Juniper
cedar.
wood. It's temperature's got to be 30. Is it close to 32 probably?
Yeah, for
It
sure.
was 37 on the way home. So we're still all a little bit chilled to the bone here. We have been hound hunting in New Mexico with Strait Sedillo. So we're going to be talking to Strait. But before that, we're going to do a cold open. A cold hound hunting open that is sure to draw in the ratings. Because, right to my right, and we're going to give a more formal introduction to Strait. But I've got Brent Reaves, the Brent Reaves. Brent, why don't you tell me a story? This is a cold opening. Tell me a story that your daddy told you about a coon dog.
Well, once upon a time, my dad loved anything to do with dogs, tree dogs especially. And back when this would have been in the 50s, he would have been a young teenager or 12 or 13 years old. And he and my uncle used to borrow the neighbor's coon dog. He lived down the road about half a mile. His name was Nobody. He had a brother named Obadiah. And there's a hill down there along that road where my father grew up and where I lived, called Obadiah Hill. And compared to the hills here in New Mexico, it's just a small bump in the road. But in Cleveland County, Arkansas,
Yeah,
especially
southeast Arkansas.
Yeah, it's a pretty good hill. So anyway, coon prices were good, and I'm not exactly sure the coon prices had as much to do with it as how much fun it was to coon hunt. But they would borrow Nobody's coon dog, and Nobody didn't know that they were borrowing him. So how this took place was when it got dark, obviously, my dad and my uncle would slip down the road. They would crawl up into Nobody's yard, and he had this big old blue tick chained out beside the house, chained up, chained to his collar, and he had a house there and everything he needed to rest and be comfortable and be a champion coon dog. So one of them, they would take turns. They would slip up there, take the collar off the dog's neck, fasten it back as if he had slipped the collar, and they would go off coon hunting. After they were finished, they come back home. Of course, they got home. The dog would just trot down the road back to Nobody's house.
Go back home.
Yeah. So when Nobody gets up the next morning, the coon dog is on the front porch or laying out there, but he doesn't have his collar on. Works like a charm. Everybody's happy. My dad and my uncle get to go coon hunting. Nobody gets his dog back. So the only issue with this was after about 3 nights of it, they were doing particularly well, according to my dad, and were hammering the coons pretty good. So about the 3rd night in a row, they go down there to borrow the dog. My dad and my uncle crawl up to the edge of the yard. My dad sends my uncle up there. And being the older brother, that probably wasn't just a coincidence that my uncle was going in there first. I would assume that my dad was sending him up there in case they got caught, he could get away. He's going to catch my uncle and not him.
Yeah.
But anyway, he crawls up there, and my dad says in just a short time. And it's dark, and they're crawling around in this yard. My uncle comes crawling back and said, "There's something wrong with that dog. Something's not right."
Something's wrong with it.
And Dad said, "What's wrong with him?" He said, "He sounds like he got pneumonia." Of course, these are boys trying to work this problem out. And so Dad said, "Well, let me go up there." So he crawls up there, and he said the closer he got to that dog, the louder he could hear him breathing. And he said it sounded like it was just a struggle. Inhale, exhale, like he was really having to concentrate to do it. And so he couldn't, my uncle was right. Something was wrong with him. So Dad said that he run his hand up on his collar to check the dog out, and to take the collar off of him. And he said that collar was so tight on that dog's neck that it was all he could do to breathe. One more notch. He said one more notch and he wouldn't have made it. So apparently, after 3 mornings in a row of nobody having to put the collar back on, he was gradually tightening that collar.
He was tightening that collar
so
down.
the dog wouldn't slip off the collar.
Oh, man.
So that ended their borrowing nobody's.
So they decided that if they had done it one more time, the dog would probably have been choked.
For the welfare of the dog, they quit borrowing.
They quit borrowing it.
Yeah, and they would just hunt. He told me later they would just go hunting with nobody.
Oh, man. Okay, I cannot stand behind the ethics of these decisions that these young Arkansas boys made, but that's a good story.
Yeah.
That's a good
times.
story. That's a good story. Strait, have you ever been a part of anything like that before?
Never.
Never.
Don't have any stories like that.
So we've been hound hunting in southeast New Mexico. This is the 4th day. Tomorrow is our last day of hunting, and we're out here with, like I said, Strait Sedillo. Strait is Strait, you introduce yourself, man.
I live here in southeast New Mexico. Born and raised.
Dunked a basketball when you were a junior in high school for the Capitan Tigers.
That was it. Yeah, that was a
Strait,
memory.
Strait is no. I mean, if he's an inch tall, he's 6'6". Straight's 6'6" and about as big around as a young ponderosa pond.
Yeah. He's built for speed, as my grandfather would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, born and raised here. Into hunting a little bit early on, and last 6.5, 7 years, really jumped into hunting head first, and got a couple dogs from another guy, another local, and it was downhill from there. It was a disease. It was one dog after another, and we got into mules, and same thing there. We've got plenty of mules, plenty of hounds. So
yeah. So describe to us the big game hound hunting in New Mexico. You're hunting black bear and mountain lion.
yes, sir. Yeah, we bear hunt starting in mid-August, and go through the end of the month of August, and then start back up in September. And start lion hunting in November.
So there's a gap in September because of the elk season.
Correct. Yeah.
You can't run big game with hounds during the elk season here in New Mexico.
Correct. During the archery elk season, that's the first 24 days of September.
Yeah.
So dogs get a good little break and get ready for a second round.
And then you can lion hunt year round here.
Yeah. We do have a year-round lion season.
Now, are the lions distributed all the way across New Mexico?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, there's a pretty good lion population in New Mexico.
Is New Mexico known for big lions or just average lions, or?
I would say the northern part of the state, from what I've seen, is known for bigger cats. To me, I just think because the temperatures up there, it gets a lot colder in the winter, more snow, more elk. I think they're able to put a little more weight on, put some more fat on for the winters up there.
Yeah.
Down here, a good tom down here is anywhere between 130, 150 pounds.
And that's a giant cat.
That's a good cat. Yeah, you don't realize Yeah, 150-pound cat. They don't.
So what it takes for a region to support mountain lions is a lot of ungulates, a lot of deer, and a lot of elk. That's what it takes. I mean, that's the limiting factor. And at one time, now let me tell you something, and you may not believe me, Brent Reaves,
I
but
probably won't.
it's true. It's true. Okay, what is, well, back up. Okay, pre-European settlement in North America. You with me? Before Europeans arrived.
I got you.
What was the most widely distributed big game animal in North America?
Bison.
From the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean to the Boreal Forest to the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico.
Bison.
Bison. Okay, we got one bison. Straight.
I'd say elk.
Okay, good. You're both wrong. Mountain lion.
Really?
Cougar. Puma. Yeah. I mean, there were mountain lions all the way in North Carolina and Georgia and Florida. I mean, you know, the Florida panther that we hear so much about.
Yeah.
All the way to mountain lions in California, mountain lions in British Columbia, mountain lions in Alberta, Saskatchewan. I mean, like all the way across, all the way down into Mexico. Mountain lion. I mean, the historical literature of Arkansas is full of mountain lions.
Yeah.
So there was basically very little gap in their natural distribution, which is kind of bizarre now because now there are massive gaps in distributions of free-range wild populations of mountain lions, and it's all because of, it's because of the kind of the vermin mentality that kind of haunted the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they killed cats out. And they really weren't welcome back in. That's kind of the best way to say it. But the West is so remote and so sparsely populated with humans comparatively to other parts of the country that there's still lions out here. Because I kind of want straight, like you've grown up here your whole life. So, I mean, like mountain lions walking through your yard is probably not that foreign. But to us, being from kind of the Mid-South, I mean, having mountain lions is pretty stinking awesome. I mean, we saw lion tracks. The dogs chased a lion on the first day, and we called them off. And Strait thinks they probably would have treated it based upon the way they were handling the track. But so it's pretty cool. But so the West, where there are lots of elk, which New Mexico has a ton of elk. I mean, you cannot look out the window of the truck in the ditch and not see an elk track. New Mexico has a lot of mule deer. We've seen antelope. We've seen all three of those things. We scored a big mule deer rack yesterday that Strait found. When did you find that?
Last spring, I think March, I'd say, mid-March.
And how'd you know it was a lion kill?
No, just the rest of his the carcass was there, buried up, pulled up underneath the tree. Generally, that's what a lion does after it takes down a deer. Drags him up under some cover, and whenever he's finished with him, he'll bury him up and come back later, and that's the way I found it. Yeah.
Well, I think it's pretty cool if there's lions here. And so you're a lion hunter, and there's also a great population of black bears, a lot of color-phased black bears in New Mexico. The bear that we saw the other day.
Beautiful.
What color was he, Strait?
I'd call him a cinnamon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you not call him what's your special name for the color-phase out here? You called it a
sunburn orange.
Sunburn orange. Yeah. He said that, and I said, well, there's another color phase of bears.
Yeah, there's a few of those around here.
Yeah, kind of sunburn orange.
It was beautiful, man. Wow, he was really pretty.
It really was a nice-looking bear. A small bear. We chose not to take it. It was a young bear, but a beautiful color-phased bear that we treed on the first hour of the hunt.
You want to tell that story, or you want to save it for the video?
Yeah, we can tell the story.
That was crazy, man.
Yeah, go ahead, Brent.
The dogs struck and took off like gangbusters.
Well, start off by saying that we literally got here, started hunting, and I mean it was less than 30 minutes after leaving the truck on the first day.
We left the truck, got the dogs unloaded, got the mules unloaded, and mounted up, and away we went up the mountain. And dog strike. We couldn't have been gone 30 minutes from the truck. And
no, maybe not even.
So the race starts, and up the canyon they go, and they start getting out of here and getting further and further away. And we're like, okay, we're looking at Strait, like, what do we do next? And
we're free casting these dogs. So
yeah.
we're all three of us are on mules.
Yep.
And these dogs they almost hunt like bird dogs. Strait likes to keep them close. They pretty much stay within sight.
Yeah, what that's cool is because you can see them working.
Yeah.
They're just crisscrossing back and forth on the road and, just trotting up the road in front of you. And then when they strike, buddy, it is all hands on deck, and they go to work. And so they're heading up that canyon there and just, painting the road red. And we're looking at Strait like, what do we do next? And he's all cool and calm, like, we'll just see what we're going to see where they go, and then that'll, make our decision where we need to ride and which way we need to go. And he's got these tracking collars on, so he's watching them. He knows exactly where they're going, what elevation they are, and what direction. And the dogs are going out of here, man. And we're all three standing there together. And they just, getting softer and softer and softer. And then all of a sudden it's, they start getting louder and louder coming back. And we're all just sitting there on our mules looking at one another. And I think
the race just came alive.
Yeah.
They kind of went over the top of the mountain and then kind of came back. And if you've ever heard a good dog race, they just kind of go out of here and then come back in.
Yeah, it just gets, it's lower volume. And then all of a sudden it gets louder. They're still barking at the same level, but they obviously getting closer. Something has changed. Something dynamic is happening. And a dynamic happening doesn't even describe what was fixing to happen. I think it was Clay that said, when a deer race in Arkansas gets louder,
they start coming back our direction.
Yeah, he said, you probably need to get your gun ready. And
I didn't even get that out yet.
I heard a limb break, and I looked off. It was probably 120 yards, maybe at the most. And coming down the side of that canyon that we were sitting in was that color-faced bear. And he was absolutely toting the mail. And I was like, hey, man, there's a bear.
And he was coming right towards us.
Straight at us. And we got mules looking at one another. We're looking at one another. And I'm thinking, I thought we were chasing bears, not bears chasing us. This is a whole new
and
way.
I was
this
thinking,
is
man,
play
Straight's
out.
got these dogs trained good.
He's bringing them back.
He's bringing them back.
For real. What was funny was we had that pup with us, old Doc.
Yeah.
Doc was with us, and this bear comes running up to it. He runs to a tree 40 yards.
Well, what happened was we're sitting there. We see this bear come running by, and this 8-month-old pup was at our feet, right, Straight?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the pup sees that bear and was like, daggum. That's kind of, and so
here's one for me.
The pup didn't even bark. He just starts kind of like bouncing towards that bear. It was almost like, hey, you want to play?
Yeah.
And that bear sees that dog just all of a sudden out of nowhere in his rearview mirror, and the dog didn't even bark. And that bear shot up a ponderosa pine.
Yeah, big one right there. And right there at us.
Yeah.
He wasn't
Then what
40
happened,
yards.
Straight? You can take it from here.
No, that pup went to that tree and smelled where he went up and looked up, and that bear he wasn't but 8-10 feet up that tree, and that pup was trying to figure out, put two and two together, and he was thinking, man, guys, this is easy.
Yeah. He's like, what are you guys doing back up on the mountain?
Yeah. And those dogs are still running. They're getting louder and louder. Yeah, louder and louder and louder.
Yeah, and the rest of the pack was they were working themselves down that ridge towards us, and that bear was a little impatient. We got our mules turned around and got back that direction, tried to help that pup keep that bear up that tree. And me and Clay were hopping off our mules and trying to get over there, and mules seeing that bear. And
we're up under the tree.
Mm-hmm.
This bear is like 12, 13 feet maybe, I don't know. And he's wanting to come down when he realized that dog isn't putting any pressure on him. And so Straight and I are kind of like trotting with our mules. We didn't want to let the mules go, but we wanted to get under that tree to kind of clap our hands and kind of hoop at that bear to get him to step the tree. Well, we're pulling mules who do not want to go towards this bear. And
I'm still sitting on the mule. I dropped the reins, and I got the camera in my hand, so everything's on autopilot for me.
Yeah. And Strait and I are yelling at the bear, and he's coming down the tree. I mean, he's like feet from the ground.
Yeah.
And Strait reaches, I don't know if he yelled. I know I was yelling. And
Yeah, we were yelling, hooping, hollering.
And Izzy ended up getting away from me. Like I feel the lead rope just slip through my hands, and I think maybe she's headed back to the truck. So I turned to try to catch my mule, and when I turned back around, the bear is shooting off through the woods. He had come down, and then here come the dogs, and the race was on again, and they ended up treeing him probably 3/4 of a mile to half a mile away.
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, they went down that lower country, and it was probably 3/4 of a mile or so.
Yeah, and that time they put him up a nice tree, and all the dogs were there, and they treated him good, and we got there, made the decision that it wasn't a bear that we wanted to take, and just enjoyed seeing him up in the tree, enjoyed seeing the good dog work, and felt pretty darn lucky that in the first. Just the very first part of our hunt, we had a bear up a tree.
Yeah, for real.
It was a pretty big deal.
It was. I mean, you and I bear hunted all. I had never seen anything like that. We've had, the incident where the bear stuck his head in our blind, but that bear charging down the hill like that, running full speed, that was absolutely one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
I was hoping he was going to run in between the legs of your mule, Brent.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have hit the ground yet if that would have happened.
That Arkansas cowboy would have really came out in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been the first
Brent
rodeo.
had cowboy up a little bit today. We're not sure what happened, but his mule got a little spooked and
I had my eyes
went
shut.
for a little run with him.
We did. He was taking the shortcut.
Yeah.
Back to the truck.
It worked out, though.
It all worked out. I found the brakes.
Yeah. Well, that was a pretty exciting part of the first few days of our hunt. But Strait, why don't you describe? So we set the stage by saying that there are black bears here, there are mountain lions here. We've told the season structure. We've told that obviously you can use hounds to pursue game here in New Mexico, which is an awesome, awesome thing. How do you like to hunt them? And let's talk specifically about bears. We can talk about lions too at some point, but what's your strategy? What do you like to do?
Bear hunting, getting some good country. Generally, I'd say 75% of the time we're going to be muleback, riding mules or horse. Free casting dogs, just letting them dogs work. I like to rig off the truck as well, but in the August season, they're just campers and other hunters along them roads doing the same exact thing we are, and just to try to get away from the from the public and from those other hunters, get out of the way, get into the back country. We'll unload mules and free cast them dogs just like we've been doing, and let the dogs work and hit some good spots, springs, good canyons, what they're eating that time of year, run through some acorn crops, and see what we can stir.
Prickly pear cactus, like right now. That's
yeah,
what they're eating.
Yeah, this later time of the year here in October, so that they're hitting that prickly pear pretty hard.
Yeah. Would you say most guys are just rigging for bears?
I'd say about 60 to 70% of the other hunters that show up here, they're rigging. There are a couple of others that we'll catch or see out there horseback or whatnot, but
and rigging. I know there's a lot of people that may not have a lot of history with hound hunting that are listening to the podcast. Rigging a bear means that you're putting a dog on top of the dog box or up out of the dog box, and that dog is trying to smell a bear while you're driving down the road. So basically you're cutting through all this good country, and it's pretty incredible what a hound can do. He's able to wind bear that haven't even crossed the road, perhaps. Like maybe there's a bear down in a canyon 200, 300 yards off the road, wind's right, and everything's right. That dog can smell that bear, then you turn the dog loose and the race is on. Or a bear has crossed the road sometime in the night or that morning, and the dogs from the top of the truck smell where the bear has crossed. And then, but there's an advantage to that because you're able to see a track. Most of the time on these dusty roads, if you rig a bear, you can get out and you can say, "Oh man, that's a really young bear that we don't want to run."
Exactly.
Or you might say, man, that's a big bear, and we do want to run. And
Yeah.
the way you're hunting is tougher.
Yeah, it's a little tougher, especially having colder nose hounds. Generally, whenever you're rigging, I mean, I'd say you can rig a 6-8 hour old truck. That's a pretty good rig. But free casting dogs, and you have colder nose dogs. There's sometimes we'll start cold trailing, 12 to 16, 18 hour old track, and it's hard to pull dogs off, especially whenever they're doing good. But at the same time, you want to older the track, the less likely you are to catch. I mean, bears travel so much; they're feeding, just covering country, and you want a fresher track. So I mean, it's hard to do, but you call the dogs back off them older tracks, and keep hunting.
There's two things you just said that I want to talk about. That's important right there. I think a lot of people might say 12 to 16-hour-old track. That's baloney. But we saw it with our own eyes, Strait.
Yep.
We struck. Tell me about that, because I hear a lot of people talking about realistically how old a track a hound can run, and that means when that bear was actually standing there to when the dog starts the track. But we had a trail camera that we struck off of the other day.
Yeah, we had gotten to that spring, and the dogs had started trailing off, and looked at the GPS, and they passed right where that camera was sitting. So we went down that trail where that camera was on and checked it, and sure enough, there was a bear there. I think it was the evening before, and the timing we'd put that track, it was about 16 hours, and they were cold trailing it. I mean, granted, I didn't think, but you never know. I mean, I didn't think they were going to catch it, but you never know. They're laid up, hanging out for the day. They're hung up on a kill or something. So, I mean, you just let the dogs work. Let the dogs tell a story. That's all I can.
Well, but I mean, undoubtedly, the track that they started and ran for a long time
was a
16-hour-old track when it crossed in front of that camera, because there were pictures of the dogs, and then the picture before that was a bear the night before at like 6:45 p.m. and it was like, I can't remember what time it was. It was like
I don't remember, but
like
it was
11 o'clock or noon.
Yeah, I think it was pushing 11. Yeah, something like that.
I mean, so I was really surprised that they could take it, but man, they did. And
took it for
where they
quite a
lost
ways,
it
too.
was they got up on top where it was real windy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where they lost it, as I recall. Now, okay, track age, but you said something else. What did he say that I was going to talk about? Because I'm like a houndsman like Strait is just saying stuff, but I wanna qualify. I want to dig into to kind of give some people some good information.
Cold nose.
Well, it was track age. Well, we'll just keep going. We were talking about how we hunt or how you're hunting. Oh, this was it. You said that when you're free casting these dogs, see, the thing about rigging bears, is that you can choose which dogs you put on the track. You can choose not to run it. You can choose to run it. When we're free casting these dogs off mules, I mean, these dogs are just hunting like bird dogs out in front. I was real interested to see how Strait would handle that. And he keeps these dogs, I mean, they're very, very trained in terms of just obedience.
Yeah.
And he is calling these dogs off tracks that he doesn't think they can finish. I mean, like yesterday morning, the dogs hit a track right off the truck, and I thought, well, here we go.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, I mean, these dogs are like in full cry, headed over the ridge, and Strait goes, hey, come on. And they just quit, and they came right back.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's got an amazing handle on them. I mean, they handle awesome.
And I said, Strait, we're here to kill a bear. What was that all about? And he said that was a line track. And I said, how could you tell? So how could you tell it was a line track?
Just the way they were trying to start it. I mean, they were hitting on it just because they smelt it right there, but trying to get a good direction on it, really having to work hard, dig their noses down in them pine needles we were in, and just how hard they were trying to work on it. Usually you hit a good bear track, and I mean, it's go. A good fresh bear track, they're going, getting a direction figured out, and they're gone. But lion hunting, especially in the dirt, they're gonna hit that track, open up on it, and just work. I mean,
So
so-
you can. I'm sorry, but you can see. I mean, you're actually looking at them a majority of the time, and you can see the difference on how they're working. What would eventually become a lion opposed as to a bear, and that's what you're saying.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've trailed enough with them, and you learn them dogs. I mean, those dogs are. Hell, they're my best friends. I mean, I can watch them and know exactly what they're going to do, what they're fixing to open up on, and you watch that tail. That tail tells a lot of the story.
Yeah. Well, and you told me something that I'd never really heard said before, but I know it's true. Is that a lion doesn't leave the scent that a bear does.
Correct.
I mean, a bear leaves a lot of scent.
Yeah.
Long, thick fur that holds a lot of odor. I mean, a bear is not walking around the woods
Bigger feet.
worried about being concealed.
Yeah,
You with me?
Yep.
yeah.
A
exactly.
lion is a 100% carnivore. He is a predator that is fully relying on stealth to live his life. A bear is not. And so, I mean, that cat just has less odor.
Right.
Just doesn't smell as bad. And so, anyway, so that's what I learned from Strait is that he's watching how hard these dogs are working, and he's just like, that's a lion. Calls them off, and we keep going to try to find a bear.
Yeah.
But pretty amazing. But, okay, so those were the two. Strait, you're going to have to forgive me for interrupting you so much.
You're fine. You're
But
good.
these little sections, I think, will paint a good picture for people. And ultimately, what I want to do is I want for people that have never done this before to understand the craft, the dedication, the woodsmanship, the skill, the knowledge, the lifelong dedication that it takes to consistently catch game.
Yeah, this
With
is
hounds.
absolutely not dropping the tailgate and letting them go and just waiting for them to treat something.
No.
It is nowhere even remotely in the same conversation.
Yeah. So we're free casting these dogs. You're able to call them off a track if you don't think they should start it. And basically, we're making big loops. And the dogs are they're just hunting within sight, basically.
Yeah.
While we're riding mules.
Yeah. I don't like them to get too far away. Just because whenever they do start something, if whether it is a bear track and we can see a track or we're lion hunting and same thing. If they're going the wrong direction, you need to be able to call them dogs and get a hold of them, get them lined out, going back the right direction.
Yeah.
But I mean, same with bear hunting.
Well, what's your favorite? What's your favorite one to hunt? Bear, lion?
That's a good one.
That's a personal question. Straight's like, I'm not going to answer that on a podcast.
That's a trick question.
That's a personal question.
I'd have to probably go with lion hunting. If I absolutely had to 100% make a choice, it would definitely be lion hunting.
Tell me why.
Preferably dry ground lion hunting, just because there's not many others in the area that can do that. So it eliminates the traffic, and ultimately it takes a little more of a dog to slow down and work at it. I mean, hunting the dirt, it's a different ball game. Don't get me wrong, I'll take advantage of the snow with some young dogs and teach them the tools of the trade. But yeah, hunting the dirt, it takes a smart dog.
Okay, tell me what dry ground lion hunting is.
Dry ground is no snow, just bare dirt. I mean, that's
because typically, if you're hunting in Idaho, I mean, the whole mountain lion hunting world is fueled by fresh snow. Because lions, even in areas where there's a high density of lions, they're a low density animal.
Right.
So it's not like there's a lion on in every canyon, you know. And so you've got to find a lion track. And what is an easy way to find a track of anything? It's when it snows.
Sure.
And so most places, especially up north where they're lion hunting, it's 100% dependent upon snow. But we're in New Mexico. There is snow here some, but would you say 3 weeks out of the winter there's snow?
total. Yeah, I mean, we get a decent snow, 4 to 6 inches. It's gone within a day and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, after that, it just becomes a muddy mess. So,
And so dry ground, I mean, this is an arid climate, and dry ground line hunting is the pinnacle of hound hunting, really.
Yeah, for real.
Is that right, Strait?
Yeah, you nailed it right there.
I mean, there's nothing tougher. That's what I'm trying to say.
Correct. Yeah, it's a tough one. I'd say for every 7 to 8 cats we trail, we'll catch 1 to 2. I mean, on average. I mean, don't get me wrong. We'll get on a hot streak and put a couple up in a row, but on average, I'd say out of every 6 to 7 cats we'll trail, we'll actually get treed or get caught. I mean, it's a different ball game.
Can you tell me why the scent is such a? I mean, that's what we're talking about. It's harder for the dogs to trail a cat that's stepping into dirt rather than stepping into snow. Can you describe to me why?
On scent conditions, yeah, I would say the moisture. Dogs are either going to smell it or they're going to run it by sight. I have caught some dogs running a snow track off of sight. In the dirt, I mean, it's 100% off of smell. Yeah, like you said earlier, cats don't leave as much scent. And basically all they're leaving is pad scent. And so it's going to hold closer to the ground longer. So yeah, it's
just a lot harder.
Yeah, it's tougher. I mean,
this is the way that I've heard it described, and tell me if you think this is a good analogy. So a line track in the snow. So first of all, Chris Powell, Houndsman XP podcast, he's the one that talked to me about scent. And so, I mean, like, scent is actually vaporized molecules of the animal. Okay? So a lion steps in the snow. Some of his skin follicles, hair follicles, microscopic particles are in that track and even become vaporized in the air that's in the hole of that track. Okay? What is the best way to preserve a biological substance that needs to be preserved?
Freeze it.
Freeze it. So, I mean, like, basically, like, a track in the snow is like putting a hamburger in the refrigerator.
Yep.
It's going to last longer. You come out to this dirt right here by this fire. There's no moisture
whatsoever.
It is
in New Mexico.
and that super arid place just holds so much less odor. And so, anyway, so it's kind of like the refrigerator or just a surface that does not collect odor at all. And when it does, it breaks down quick. The heat breaks it down.
And the wind's blowing.
No, it don't. It never blows over here.
Don't say the W word.
But that's just the challenge that those dogs overcome, and it is amazing to watch them work.
Today they almost kicked me out of the party because I said the word wind. The last 2 days.
Before we left.
Yeah, the last 2 days we've kind of been shut down by wind, just high winds. And it just makes it super difficult for the dogs to track. It makes it difficult for the dogs to course the other dogs.
Yeah.
So, like, if there's a dog 100 yards ahead that's barking, that's found the track, the dogs way back here are behind and are listening for, where to go. They have trouble hearing. You have trouble getting dogs back. You're calling dogs and they can't hear you. Anyway, so today I said, Strait said, he said, as long as we don't get any of the W today, we'll be okay. And I was like, what's W? And they got big-eyed and they said, think about it, Clay. And I said, oh, W, no W. They said, no, don't say it. Well, when we got out of the truck, I said, man, the wind's not blowing yet.
And the first thing he said when he stepped out.
Strait was like, you're out.
No mule for you.
You're walking. And then I was right. There was no wind down by the truck, but once we got up on the mountain, holy moly.
Yeah, it was.
What was the elevation up there, Strait?
I was like, we were about 8,400 feet up there.
Yeah.
And it was
27 below zero.
Golly.
My gosh, it was cold.
Oh, man. I'm still not warm.
Yeah, it was cold, but it was, and still, those dogs are hitting tracks up there.
Hey, let me tell you something. I didn't say this to Strait today. Strait is wearing a pair of blue jeans
Yeah.
and a it appears to be a white T-shirt, a hoodie, and a thin, uninsulated jacket.
I got a flannel on too.
Okay, okay.
Oh yeah.
Me and Brent are up there decked out in like the warmest first light gear known to man.
You couldn't shoot an arrow through me. How much stuff I got on?
And we get up there, and I'm freezing. Now Brent's not that cold, but I was freezing. And finally, at the end of the day, at like 4:00, I made Strait take one of my hot hands. I asked him if he wanted it a long time ago, and he was like, no, I'm good. And I finally just threw it to him. And then on the way down, he finally was like, my feet are a little cold.
Yeah. Like, man, cold. We passed cold a long time ago. That's about 6,000 feet back up that mountain.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that the earth was about to fall over when Strait was like, yeah, my toes are a little cold.
Well, what got me was when we stopped and we were trying to figure out what the dogs were doing. And we were on the top up there. And we said, let's make some coffee. So we got,
Where did we stop at for that?
that was on
top?
on top, yeah. Or no, that wasn't on top. That was about 1,000 feet down. I think we were at 7,600 feet where we made coffee.
The second time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The second time.
Yeah, and I was like, man, this is going to be good. This will be the best cup of coffee I ever had. And we got a pot going. Clay got some. I got some. Straight, you want some coffee? No, I'm all right. I'm like, dude, you got to be kidding me. You're all right. You got to drink coffee. It is too dang cold.
And then Strait went to get the dogs, and how fast was that wind up top?
Oh, it was every bit of 45, 50 mile an hour. I mean, it was ripping up there.
Good thing you had your blue jeans on.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Your whole feet might have got cold, not just the tip of your
The whole
toes.
foot.
Oh, jeez. Well, so we've talked about scent. We talked about dry ground, and I mean it's dry ground bear hunting too. But I mean most places you're hunting, obviously bears are denning up in the winter, so you're not hunting them in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean you don't really use the term dry ground bear hunting because all hound hunting for bears is going to be basically dry ground.
Right.
But Strait, you're using the same hounds for line hunting and bear hunting.
Yeah, they're pretty versatile. I mean, they do it year round, so you got to be ready for it.
What are you looking for in a dog?
Intelligence. Whenever they're young, I'll really watch the young pups, and I want to see a young dog that don't really take his nose off the ground. He's always wanting to hunt, whether it's whenever they're younger, rabbits. Whenever they get a little older, of course, they're going to want to trash out or whatnot, and just a dog that's always willing to hunt. And we can take care of all that trash breaking later on, but I want to see a dog that wants to prove something, that wants it. Intelligence, and a dog that'll mind. Those are, I'd say obedience is probably the biggest thing, though. I mean, you gotta have a handle on that dog, like I was saying
For the
earlier.
way you're hunting, you do for sure, because you get out there 6 miles and you can't lead 8 dogs back to the truck while you're riding a mule. Those dogs have to follow you back.
Or get down off, your muley every 15 minutes and point them in the right direction. He's voice commanding these dogs, pointing, and they're doing exactly what he tells them to do.
What kind of dogs are we hunting?
We got some mainly blue tick walker cross. There's a little red bone in there. And that's about it. I mean, bloodlines are just a little of everything. A couple of my dogs got some blood from southeast or southwest Arizona, some dry ground lion blood, and they've taken to the bears. But yeah, there's nothing too fancy, but blue tick walker and a red bone in there. That's what we're hunting.
So all these dogs would have come from this part of the country, though. I mean, they're dry ground or would they have come from other places straight?
I've got one that came from southern Colorado, but yeah, the rest, and then besides those other two that are from Arizona, the rest they're New Mexico blood. I mean, they're within the state, so
yeah. And these are big dogs, or some of them are. How big is Ace? What's he weigh, you think?
Ace, I'd say he's about 65, pushing 70 pounds.
Yeah,
and that's fit. I mean, he's been running since August, so I mean he's in shape right now. I'd say throughout the summer he'll get up to 75 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good sized dog.
Yeah.
But everybody else, I mean, that high tan female, she's a smaller dog. I wouldn't say she's probably but 30, 35 pounds maybe. And everything, I've got a couple of pups out of her that are they're year-olds, and so they're a little smaller than that. But yeah, that's.
And I was surprised at the size. You've got two males that are, I mean, I'd say 70 plus pounds, pretty easy. And this goes into a conversation that we've been having this week, because all of my experience hunting hounds has been in Tennessee. Let me think about that. No, that's not true. Tennessee and Michigan, primarily, and West Virginia. But, the East and then the Mid-Lake, the Great Lakes region. And a lot of these guys are wanting smaller dogs and feel like they hold up better. But, I mean, it doesn't, for whatever reason, it doesn't really seem to be a massive limiting factor out here. I mean, your Ace is one of your top dogs, and he's a 70-pound dog and gets around just fine.
Yeah, he made a lot of steps up and not across flat ground either.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what say you, Strait Sedillo?
I mean, yeah, I mean, size. I can see where some guys are coming from. You do want a smaller dog that's going to hold up. But I mean, the biggest thing that's going to hold up out here is their feet. Running through all these rocks, shell rocks, rock slides. It's going to work on them pads.
Yeah.
That's usually the only thing that ever gives out on a dog that I've seen is just those pads. They get sore footed and just having a harder time walk or run around. So, but
yeah.
Other than that, I mean, big dogs can hang with them smaller built dogs. I mean,
yeah. I've heard preached so much from the guys in the East that they want a small dog, and they're not preaching that. They're just, I mean, that's just what they say they want.
Right.
That being said, I hunted with a very well-known plot breeder out in West Virginia by the name of Curtis Walker, and I got no problem saying Curtis's name because I got nothing but good things to say. I hunted with him one morning, and his dogs treat a bear in some super tough conditions in West Virginia while I was there in just a couple hours. Rigged the bear off a blacktop road in West Virginia, dropped the tailgate, and a mile and a half later and a couple hours later, we were standing under a bear tree.
Awesome.
They had a dog, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong if they know Curtis and Jamie Walker. I believe they had a dog named Copper, a plot. They're plot breeders. Curtis Walker is a longtime plot breeder. And they had a dog named Copper that was, I believe he was 90 pounds.
Good God.
Which is way outside. I mean, he was an outlier for their strain of dogs.
Yeah.
Just however it happened, it happened. The dog, it was a big male. And word on the street is that he was one of their top hounds that could stay with any of them.
That's a big dog.
It was
regardless.
a big dog. Now, I didn't see Copper run. And forgive me, there's going to be like diehard houndsmen that may crucify me for messing that story up. But it was basically a big old plot amongst a bunch of smaller plots that were kind of the main thing. But Strait and I have been talking all week. Like, you don't get a lot of bay ups down here.
Not too many. I'd say a couple a year, 2 to 3. I mean, but for the most part, the biggest thing is some of these smaller bears just want to run.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you'd call them Nike bears. They want to run. But other than that, the bears aren't too bad. I mean, they usually
they want to go up a tree.
Yeah, especially hunting with multiple. I mean, as many dogs as we do. I mean, they don't really want to deal with much. They hear them coming, and they're probably already thinking.
And we're hunting with 7 dogs this week.
Yeah,
and they're turned out all the time, all 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that I was a little bit surprised by that. I thought we might have more. In most of the places that I've hunted in the East, there's been more dogs involved than that. In the Great Lakes region, I believe you can only have 6 or 9 dogs out. There's some legal issues, like you can't run, so they more than so many dogs. But especially in the Appalachians, it's a little bit different. But yeah. So this is what I told you, is that my experience hunting in eastern Tennessee, I was there for 3 days 2 years ago, and there were 5 bears killed with the guys I was hunting with in 3 days, and 4 of them were killed on the ground. I mean, just sure enough, bay-ups. Those bears just don't want to go up a tree, and there's no good explanation for why. I mean, it could be pressure, but they're just runners.
Yeah.
And everybody has their opinion of why that is. But out here, I mean, I was pretty impressed that the young Nike bear we struck on the first day just ate him pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
More or less
fun.
twice.
Yeah, well, Strait and Doc treat him.
The first time.
And then the pack caught up and treat him. Yeah. Well, so you've talked about the type of dogs you're hunting. Is there anything else you wanted to say about these Western dogs? I mean, because for somebody that would be listening that wouldn't understand, there is such a wide, there's a wide gap. There's this huge space where hounds, I mean, the intricacies and nuances of the way hounds work and the way they hunt and their noses, and are they open on the track, or do they not bark on the track, or do they tree good, do they not tree good, are they gritty, do they run to catch, as they say, meaning they just really pushing a track hard, there's all these different things. So we were talking about the differences between these Western bear hounds, or what guys are needing out of dogs in the West versus what these guys are needing out in the East. Anything else you'd say about what you're needing out here for hounds?
Not really. I mean, basically what a hound's about. I mean, a hard hunter. I mean, stamina, smarts. I would think that's pretty universal East and West. I would think maybe over here in the West, a little colder nosed dog. Sometimes, I mean, you will end up just trying to cold trail a bear all day. So, I mean, but I know you guys do it back east as well. So I think for the most part, dogs are pretty universal, or what you're looking for in a dog. That's about all I'd have to say. In regards to comparing the two. Yeah.
Well, there is a difference. You know, fire's getting to me, boys. I can't see or talk. There is a difference, and boy, it's hard to even describe what it would be. I mean, it'd be cool to have a real veteran Eastern hunter here, but I do know that you've got to have a fast dog that's pretty darn gritty, meaning that he's putting a lot of pressure on that bear, baying him tight, getting up to make him either stop and turn or to run up a tree. And what you want to happen is for them to run up a tree. Out here, it seems like the bears are a little bit, and I'm not going to say easier in the sense that it's actually easier, but if you get in a bear race, find a bear track, and your dogs catch up to it, that bear seems to be a lot more prone to run up a tree here than he is in the East and in the Great Lakes region. I mean, I also hunted with some very, very renowned houndsmen in the Great Lakes region, and golly, those bears would run. I mean, with my own eyes, I witnessed a bear race that went 36 miles per the Garmin GPS.
Wow.
And we caught the dogs off of the bear, and the bear just wouldn't run up a tree. And we never treat the bear.
Yeah.
And that's how tough they can be to tree.
Yeah, that is a long race. I know over here, I mean, generally a long race is going to be, for us, 10, 12 miles. We've had sometimes up to, pushing 15.
Yeah.
And I mean, but that's a 36 miles. I don't think we could top that one.
Yeah.
We'd be in the next county if we did.
Yeah. To kind of talk about just a little bit, even as we close, about the importance of why that we should have houndsmen running big game in North America in 2019 and beyond. Why is that important? That's the question, because there's certainly not gobs of people doing it. This isn't like fly fishing. This isn't like even whitetail deer hunting, where this is like the main thing that people are doing. But this is such a significant part of our hunting heritage here in this country. We were talking about how just yesterday, Strait and I were on mules, and I said, man, did you know that this was Teddy Roosevelt's, one of his favorite hunts of all the things he did? He loved hound hunting for bears on horseback. I think they were using horses. And, I mean, this is such a traditional hunt. And I was reading a book this week, and the first animal, did I tell you all this? I can't remember who I told this. And this is stuff y'all already know, but we'll put it in this little package. The very first animal that humans ever domesticated, per the archaeological records that they've been able to find, was dogs.
Right.
And they believe that 15,000 years ago, humans started to domesticate dogs. And they began to domesticate dogs for basically two reasons. One was for protection, but primarily they were using that critter to hunt. And they talked about how that the dogs that were endeared to the people, the dogs that were trainable, the dogs that were friendly, the dogs that were useful, the dogs that were able to connect with that human and perceive what that human wanted him to do, was the dog that was going to be fed more, was the dog that was going to be bred more. And basically after 15,000 years, we have this incredible connection with dogs. And it is not by accident. More than any other animal. I mean, more than a mule, more than a horse, more than a cat. Like, there's this human connection between dog and man that is legit. And it's not just legit because it's a cute little emotional story of man's best friend. It is legit because it is biology.
Yeah.
I mean, those animals have adapted and evolved to become what they are. And so why, brethren, in 2019 only in the last 50 years have people began to say, hey, what y'all been doing for the last 15,000 years, using dogs to hunt, is bad. Pause for silence and contemplation about the craziness of this planet. Really, if we don't hunt with dogs, then our modern society is taking something away from us that in essence has made us what we are. I mean, mankind would not have survived in, up in Alaska when they crossed over the Bering Land Bridge if it hadn't been for dogs protecting their camp. Dogs, I mean, and that's just the very primitive beginnings of what dogs would become inside of human history. But, man, and I even inside of the hunting world, I think that there's kind of this shifting baseline where people, even hunters, are given in to kind of the emotional propaganda of the anti-hunting community, saying, well, dogs, I don't know, maybe that is kind of dogs this, I don't know if I want to hunt over dogs. Man, there's been nothing ever created on the planet more fair chase than pursuing big game with dogs under the supervision of a craftsman, of a woodsman, like this dude right here.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so don't go shoot a deer in a food plot and then shake your finger at a houndsman treeing a cat and killing a mountain lion underneath a hound.
Exactly.
You live in a glass house, brother.
That's exactly
and,
right.
And I don't think the people that are listening to this podcast think that way. They don't.
No.
But what we've got to arm people with is a point of view that is just legit and different from the current trends.
Yeah, we're all enjoying the same stuff, regardless of what the pursuit is. If it's a legal pursuit, we've got to be for that guy.
Yeah.
We got to be for the guy that hunts different from us. If he's doing it legally and ethically,
Yeah.
and it may just not be our cup of tea, but we can't not support him.
Right. And that's why this hound hunting deal is such a bigger thing than just Yeah, it's pretty cool that those guys out in New Mexico get to chase lions and bears with dogs. This is actually a very important thing for the whole of the hunting community. Sometimes the smallest thing is actually one of the most important things.
Yeah.
And we talk about this all the time, but guard the gate. The dog world is the big game hound community is the place where the anti-hunting community has the ability to come into our sphere. And that's why, honestly, if the hunting community could see that and understand that, they would be pumping money into this thing to defend hound hunting.
Yep.
But the current trend is that people, if they don't do it, if they don't know somebody that does it, they're not really endeared to the cause.
Right.
But, what we're saying is that if you're endeared to the cause of North American hunting as we've known it, which, the North American Model for Wildlife Conservation has been the most successful animal husbandry act of mankind in the history of the planet. We have more big game than any place in the world, and we have it because of big game hunting. And so it's like, if you love that, then we need to protect this.
Yeah, we're vested in all of it, regardless. Everybody's got a vested interest in it.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think, Strait?
Oh, I don't.
You
y'all got me
agree?
on that. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah,
We got him all rattled up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I mean, it's got to be one, and like you said, you got to guard the gate. I mean, it's they're going to come after it. I mean, it's
Yeah. Well, and they are all over the country, and you live in kind of a sacred cradle of hound hunting here in New Mexico. You really do, and that's an awesome thing. And we just want to see it stay that way.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's almost the last of a dying breed. I mean, I got into it, like I said, 6.5 years ago. But yeah, seeing how much it's changed since then. I mean, it definitely ain't as big as it was. I mean, they're coming after it, but
yeah. Yep. Well, we've got one more day left in our. We're gonna hunt one more day. What are we gonna do tomorrow, Strait?
hopefully we won't put a bear up a tree.
We're gonna go back where
hopefully-
we've been going. Take a right rather than go straight.
Yeah, well,
the trail?
We'll flip a quarter in a bit and make that choice. I'm still trying to decide on that one.
I know which quarter. I know which quarter we ain't gonna flip.
Not the one. Yep.
The one on the railroad track. We couldn't find
Did
it.
find that one. Hopefully that W word ain't cranking as hard tomorrow.
Yeah. No kidding. Well, we've got one day to get it done. The weather will be better tomorrow, won't it?
Yeah, it was looking like, I think I said in the 50s, mid 50s or so. Tonight it'll probably, I don't know, I think I said mid to upper 20s. So it'll
get cold tonight.
Yeah, but I think tomorrow's gonna be nice. He didn't say much about the wind, but I mean I'm sure
He said it.
There'll be a little bit of it, but I mean
It's before midnight.
it's before tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll work through it. We're gonna hunt either way. So
Yeah. Well, Strait, thank you so much, man. We've had an incredible time.
Awesome.
You know,
Awesome.
I'm impressed with Strait talked to us about just kind of enjoying the journey of hound hunting and training these dogs from scratch. I mean, he could have bought a bunch of started or finished dogs, but he really enjoyed building his pack from the ground up, which, you know, you had some help from a few people, I'm sure, but you know, you value the journey, and I think that's what you've got to do. There's no way to just jump into this sport, you know, and just be all in right away. I mean, it takes time to build your pack, to find what you like, and anyway, I respect that about you, Strait.
Oh
So-
yeah, it was learned 100% more that way, I think, than and also made that much more of a bond with all them dogs like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
And
for
I'm
sure.
just learned a lot more doing it that way versus like you had mentioned, you know, getting a started dog, getting a finished dog. I mean, yeah, we would have got there quicker, but I mean, it took another year or two to really get going and catching consistently and efficiently, but we're there, and I mean, hopefully keep going up from here. I mean, got
Yeah.
some high expectations and some pups that just hit the ground. So
Yeah, you had pups this week.
Yeah, I had 5 of them.
Got 5 pups out there right now.
They're over there with Mama right now doing good.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Well, Brent, hey, thanks for being on the podcast. There was a podcast review on is it iTunes or Apple?
Yeah, iTunes. I think.
That someone that Brent didn't know that said, this is a pretty good podcast, but we need some more Brent Reaves.
I couldn't agree more.
We have any
Brent,
more?
why don't you end us with one colloquial saying that your father told you when you were a boy?
Oh my gosh!
I've got 2.
How about
How about how he knew he was poor?
Okay. My dad told me that when he learned that he was poor, he got to school. It was lunchtime, and he opened up his lunchbox, and there was an acorn. I'm sorry, not an acorn.
I can tell the story better than
That'd
you.
be really poor. A hickory nut and a hammer in there. And that's how he knew he was really poor. I think acorns came later.
He knew he was poor when he opened up his lunchbox and there was a hickory nut and a hammer in there.
That's exactly right.
And he thought his name was Go Get Wood until he was 14.
14. Go get
What other
wood.
stories have we heard about his dad?
Oh, man. I think that was...
Oh, I got a story. I'm just going to have to repeat these for you. We got to... So, when your wife was talking to your
gosh.
father
Yeah.
about the dogs.
Yeah, we would go down to my dad's house, and all his hunting dogs are across the road. He's got a bunch of walker dogs. He was a big coyote hunter. World famous as far as I know. And she can hear all these dogs barking over there. And we walk up in the house, and she's like, "Oh, those dogs, those are Dad's dogs." I mean, she said, "Well, they're all barking over there." I said, "Yeah, that's his hunting dogs." We walk in the house, and she says, "What kind of dogs are those over there barking?" And he said, "Well, they're running walkers." She said, "Running walkers? They need to make up their mind." And until that point, I had never really thought about it. You know, just they were either running walkers or treeing walkers, and you never thought about that. But
And it took your wife
it took my city mouse wife to point that
to
out.
be like, there is a little irony here, boys.
Yeah, that makes
Running
no sense.
walkers,
That makes no sense.
they need to make up their mind.
Exactly.
Oh, man. That had me going. Can you think of another straight? Is there another story? I mean, Brett just keeps us entertained with stories.
Oh, man.
Constantly.
Man,
Not that I could think of right now. I hadn't...
they just pop out. You know, I was remembering those things when I should have been remembering algebra, but
Yeah.
that's what soaked in.
You remembering those jokes the other day when you forgot the arrows?
Oh yeah, that was a good day. First day out.
Yeah.
First day out. We get how far were we from the truck?
Well, we were at the truck,
We were in the
but
truck.
we were an hour away from.
Yeah. We were,
Oh yeah, they were here.
Yeah, they were
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah. We got out to start hunting, and Clay says, "I forgot my arrow."
Oh man.
So, but he had it covered. We did have.
You can use a gun. So I had my 44
He had his
Magnum
pistol.
pistol.
Ready,
So we pistol hunted that day.
yeah, that was that was good. I forgot my arrows.
I forgot my arrows. Well, Strait, thanks for having us out, man. Really, we've had a great time. No matter what
Absolutely.
the outcome is tomorrow. I mean, guys, if you're looking for a mountain lion hunt or a bear hunt in the West, Strait's the guy to talk to. Strait20 on Instagram.
Yes, sir.
Strait20, STRAIT 20 on Instagram, and you're on Facebook too.
Oh, yeah.
Strait, Sedillo. I was wanting to pronounce it Sedillo because it has 2 L's, but that would have been wrong if I ever did that, which I never did. But nah, man, really.
It's incredible.
stuff.
It's an incredible hunt, incredible place, and lots of great folks out here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you guys have been, I mean, awesome. I mean, I didn't know what to think coming into it, but yeah, I mean, within the first 30 minutes, I knew you guys were 2 great guys, and I mean, you guys are always welcome back to this camp. So I mean, hopefully we'll have some more memories to make, more hunts to.
Right on, man. Right on. Well, hey, keep the wild places wild, because that's where the mountain lions and bears live.
We're out.
We out.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.